guys, it's Diana. Welcome back to my channel, and today I want to talk about the jobs that I've had as a person who is visually impaired. Somebody on Twitter had reached out to me and asked to talk about a little bit of my work history, what I've done, maybe what I'm doing now, and I hope that this will give you all some insight on disability in the workplace and what people with disabilities, mainly visual impairments, are able to do, because we can pretty much do like anything that our sighted peers can do when it comes to work. Obviously, driving is not a thing, but that's not the point. It is 2:30 in the afternoon and I'm drinking this. The remnant of a coffee frappuccino with hazelnut in it. It's very good. I highly recommend. So, I actually had a summer job a few years back when I was in college working at a sign shop that one of my cousins owns. It's a local company and they've won a few like local awards and things, and they do a really great job, and I helped them work on a project that they were doing for a company like making little signs that are going into wine holders, like in a store, I guess, or something. I really can't remember, but it was quite the thing. It was very like labor intensive, but you know, I was still able to do it. There were a few things that were difficult, but like a lot of the machinery pretty much just did it for me. Just like cutting the things to a certain dimension and things like that. I wouldn't really call that a real world job as it was just like a summer thing, but it was some experience working on their production staff. The first actual real world job that I had was working at Target. I worked there for about like 6 months, 7 months. Initially signed on to work seasonally, and then they asked me to stay after the holidays, and basically all that I was doing was folding clothes and keeping their soft lines department like organized. Soft lines is basically anything that's on the carpet in Target or on like the different flooring, so mainly clothes, pretty much all clothes. I ended up leaving after, you know, the time that I had worked there, which was a few months, because my hours got cut significantly actually, and whenever I had gone into work there really was nothing for me to do. So I felt like, well, what's the point in me staying if my hours are being cut and I'm not doing anything? Somebody had actually brought up a good point to me, a fellow blind person actually, when I was working there, was that, oh, maybe I'm assuming that you're getting paid less because you have a disability compared to my sighted peers who were doing the same thing, which was not the case, because I like to think that that's illegal now, to underpay people because they have a disability. However, I know that that still happens in some cases, though you don't really hear about it, because the rate of unemployment, at least in the blindness community, is about 75%. I initially thought it was 65% because that's what somebody who spoke at the ACB virtual convention a couple of weeks ago from World Blind Union had said. However, further research has in fact uncovered that the real unemployment rate is between 70 and 75%, which is very unfortunate. A lot of it may be people who may not want to work. However, I feel like a good portion of individuals, at least people that I associate with, are having very much like a difficulty finding jobs, especially now because of the pandemic, and a lot of people are out of work. Like I'm in the US. The unemployment rate here in this country is bad because, you know, a lot of companies had to shut down or furlough people due to the pandemic, and a lot of jobs are not coming back. So I mean, I was paid the same amount as everybody else in the department. It was okay. I had a stint working in an office for a while through a temp agency, filling in for somebody doing data entry. That lasted for about a month or so, and I really would have liked to have continued working there. However, they didn't have any work for me. What I was doing last year, for a good portion of last year actually, was working on a collaborative effort between the transit system here in Massachusetts and IRA, which is the visual interpreter service app that I believe I've talked about before. I talked about them heavily during my ACB convention videos, which I will link that playlist up in the cards and down below. I did social media marketing for that, and it was a very great experience. I got to go to a lot of events, publicize things. I gained a lot of experience in marketing and social media campaigning, which I felt like was very valuable because I have a degree in English, minor in communications, and I really am thinking now in hindsight that I should have probably majored in communications and marketing, because that's really what I want to do. So because that was a pilot program that had come to an end, for a few years though, I actually had been working remotely for an investigating and adjusting firm, and I was doing online background checks pretty much. So I would get sent a case file and I would have to look up the claimant on the internet to see if, you know, everything was up and up, and just write a little report and send it back. Then they would go from there. It's not something I really want to talk about because a lot of the information is, you know, confidential. Because of the pandemic, there was no work coming in, so I am no longer employed. Even though I have gotten my degree 5 years ago, as of now in 2020, I have not really had any full-time work opportunities. Everything that I've done, barring the office job for a month, has been part-time or an internship or a contract position, which is fine. Like many others, I am looking for like real full-time work. However, it can be very difficult to get a job if you have a disability. A lot of it could be due to being unable to get back and forth transportation wise. If you cannot take public transit or don't have access to it, then you have to pay money for an Uber or a Lyft. And then if you have a service animal, you're throwing in the whole chance of getting denied by the rideshare driver, which I've talked about in another video, which I will again link up in the cards and down below. That really needs to stop, and it's still happening, and it's very unfortunate. And now, honestly, due to the state of things, I don't feel comfortable getting into an Uber or even taking public transit because there are a lot of people who are not wearing masks. And it's very annoying and gives me a lot of anxiety. However, I feel like, and I think I talked about this a little bit in my dating with a disability video, and as well as the blog post that accompanied that, there's still a lot of stigma associated with people who have disabilities. And it sucks because like all we want to do is work and contribute to society. I mean, I would love to eventually monetize my YouTube channel. If I could do that full time, I wouldn't be complaining. That's a pipe dream. But eventually in the long run, if I could monetize my channel and make this into a full-time or at least part-time supplemental, you know, source of income, that would be great. But it's been a long time and I've been sending out job applications and hardly hearing anything. I've had quite a few interviews, a good handful of them, both in person and over the phone, and they always end up getting back to me saying that they chose somebody else. You know, I didn't fit the criteria, or they just won't. They'll ghost me. I had this instance where I had a lengthy phone interview with somebody from a company. This was, I think, like last year or something. We had been going back and forth on Indeed messaging, and I thought that everything was great. It looked like I had the position. They wanted me to start right away. They were trying to fill the position right away, and they said they would get back to me on a certain date. That date came, I never heard anything. So I kept trying to reach out and get in touch, and every message that I sent, whether it be through Indeed or email, just went into the void. No response. Ghosted. It's very hurtful because like I know that I'm not the only person that has happened to, and I know that this isn't specifically a disability related thing, especially now with the unemployment rate so high. There are, I feel like, so few jobs available and so many people trying to get them. It's like the demand is outweighing the supply. Especially people like myself who have a disability, we're always put on the back burner for things, and it really sucks. I thought that by now, at this point in my life, because I'm in my mid-20s, that everything would be a lot different than it currently is. And I know that nothing ever works out as planned, but this is not how I imagined to be spending my time. I just wish that I was doing something more. You know, I want to be doing something. But again, at the same time, it's hard because of the pandemic, and I'm in a higher risk group of people who could be, I could probably die from COVID. It's given an extra layer of anxiety to going out in public and doing XYZ, which is why I've been trying to find a lot of remote work, which seems to be available. But again, we're competing with everybody else who is looking for a job now. And I'm not saying that like, oh, because I have a disability, I should be given precedence or priority. I have applied to things that I know I'm overqualified for by a long shot and never got anything short of an interview. Or just like the generic confirmation email being like, oh, we got your application, blah, 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 that was sent out by the system, and that's it. I feel like that people just try and try and try. You can only do so much. You can only educate people so much, but sometimes they don't want to listen. And in terms of people with disabilities, sometimes companies see us and they all of a sudden are like afraid because, oh, now I have to accommodate this person. Oh, I have to do this. It's like, yeah, you do, but the accommodations don't have to come out of your funding or your time. For me, because I am registered with my state's Commission for the Blind, if I get a job that's in an office per se and I have to use the office computer and I need Zoom text, which is a screen magnification program. My caseworker from the commission will send that in as a request and they'll deal with it. It's not like something that my place of work has to run out and purchase and whatever, to my knowledge. I mean, when I did work in an office, I just had the IT guy turn on Windows Magnifier and everything was hunky-dory, although it took him quite a while to figure out what the heck he was doing, a lot longer than it should have, which cut into my time working, which again is a problem. If you're working IT, you should be like completely on the up and up on accessibility, because you're gonna come across a person with a disability in your office space at some point. They might need assistive technology and you're not gonna know what you're doing, and that's taking away from their valuable time and the manager's valuable time. Because I was standing there watching him trying to figure out, because I couldn't do it because I wasn't an admin on the system obviously, how to make it so Windows Magnifier was magnifying the entire screen instead of just like a section of it up in the little window. And it took him like an hour, and my manager was standing there and I was too, and I just felt like this should not be that difficult, and it was. Not only that, but accommodations get in the way of doing other things. I have a good friend who took them so long, longer than it should have, to even get in to take their GRE exams because they had needed accommodations and the place gave them the runaround. I know another person who is trying to get certification exams for their field of study done after already have completed their degree, and they also need accommodations. The place that does the certification exams is also giving them the runaround because they need accommodations, and suddenly they have to accommodate this person. It's not hard. It really isn't. If you just take the time to look at what the individual needs, like, it shouldn't be that difficult. It shouldn't take months to figure things out. In a perfect world, like, everything would be ready, done, accessible automatically. And I know that that's not how things are, and it sucks. And I'm not trying to act like you're like stereotypical entitled disabled person, because I know so many people in the blind community, because that's the community that I am a part of, who have this sense of self-entitlement because they are blind. I met this one person in particular last year in New York at the ACB convention who literally like was practically ordering the hotel employee that they were talking to around, being like, oh, like, you need to take me to do this, oh, you need to get me this. It's like, first off, that's not how you talk to a person. Secondly, these people probably have never like interacted with a blind person before, and you're giving them a bad representation of us. It kills me. I could do an entire video on entitlement. The problem is the sighted world sees a certain form of representation because of this one person. All blind people do XYZ, or because they met this blind person one time at a hotel or at the bus stop, that like they all do XYZ. Like, we don't need assistants. We do not need sighted caretakers. We do not need people to run around and be at our beck and call and do this, that, and the other thing. Like, I literally do not know anybody personally in my circle who needs any of that. They are all self-sufficient. Yes, we may need to adapt things to our own personal needs, but that's the same thing with anybody else, regardless of whether you have a disability. And I'm just gonna get off my soapbox right now, because I know that I could just go on and on and on about this, but the whole point is employment. It kills me that there's such a high unemployment rate in this group. I'm trying, and I know other people who are trying, but then there are the people who are not. And that's fine, you do you, but like, I just want to prove to people that we are capable human beings. That's all I want to do. Anyway, if you have any questions, leave them down below. Follow me on Twitter or Instagram. I add alt text to all of my Instagram photos, by the way, and Twitter whenever I post a picture, just so you know. With that, I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Hey guys, it's me from the future, and I just wanted to say something real quick. I didn't touch upon this yesterday because honestly I forgot until somebody had mentioned it on Twitter, but another reason why people with disabilities would sometimes have trouble getting employment is because a lot of those individuals in the community don't have the proper skills to get employment, like how to write a resume, how to write a cover letter, how to dress for an interview, how to conduct yourself during an interview, and various things like that. I'm hoping to touch upon that in another video later on, but I just wanted to put this in here at the end because this is a very important issue, and it's not just people with disabilities who have this problem. I feel like that there are some people in the able-bodied community who also have the same problem, and I mean, I don't know if it's because of like the education system or what, but with that, I'm gonna go and I'll talk to you later. Bye.